Hi guys, today we're going to be looking at special angles. Now, a lot of you are going in and using your calculator and they can't find out if you use your calculator. You're going to lose marks. So I'm going to show you how to use diagrams to be able to do your special angles so you'll never forget them. The first diagram we're going to use is an equilateral triangle. Now, it's important to remember that this is an equilateral triangle. Okay, so we'll just over there. And what do we know about equilateral triangle? All the sides are equal and all the angles within it is 60 degrees. So this right here will be 60. This right here will be 60. And this right here will be 60. We're going to say that this here is 2 units. This here is 2 units. And this right here is 2 units. We're then going to take this equilateral triangle and split it in half. And once we do that, this angle at the top isn't going to be 60 degrees anymore. It's now going to be 30 degrees. So we have an angle here. So this is our right angle. It's perpendicular. Okay, this is now going to be 30 degrees. Right? And since we're cutting this in half, instead of it being a 2, it's now going to be, this is 1 and this is 1. It's cut in half. So if we had to look at this, we can now see, for example, tan of 30, okay, we'll say it is the opposite over the adjacent. And now with opposite over adjacent, we need to know what is this side right here. What is the value of this side right here? And how we're going to get the value of that side is we're going to use Pythag. And if we use Pythag, the length of this will then become root 2. Let's just double check that. No, it's going to be root 3. So we're going to have root 3 here. And if we had to say the tan of 30, it's my opposite over my adjacent. So it's going to be my opposite, which is 1 over my adjacent, root 3. I can then get, for example, the sine of 60. And then the sine of 60 will be my, so ka to what? My opposite over my hypotenuse, which will be root 3 over 2. And you can use this process to get any of them. So in the end, what your triangle actually looks like will be something like this. So let's just get this right. We're going to have a 90 degree here. I'm going to have 2 root 3, 30, and 60. And that's how we form the first special angle. We're now going to move on to forming the second special angle. Now in our second special angle, this is going to be an isosceles 90 degree triangle. And what do we know about our isosceles triangle? We know that in our isosceles triangle, that this length right here, equals the length on the other side, and the angles within it will be 45. Because if this is 90, we have equal sides opposite equal angles. So this side here will be 45. This side here will be 45. Now if we look here, this marking looks like a 1, and that's actually the length of this side. So this is going to be 1, 1, and the square root of 2. So if I wanted to know what tan 45 was, for example, I'd say it'll be my opposite over my adjacent, which will be 1 over 1 which would then just equal 1. And if I wanted to know what sine of 45 was, I'll then go my opposite over my hypotenuse, which would be 1 over root 2. You get the idea. So the main thing is informing these diagrams. So what I would suggest you do is pause the video right here, and after you've paused the video, I want you to go through the story yourself and make up those triangles, and then afterwards when you press play, it's going to show it, and let's see how much of it you actually remember. Okay, I hope you guys have this right. We're now going to move on to doing some of these sums. So we're now going to use these diagrams and do some of these questions. So let's start off with number 2. It says the cos of 30 plus the tan of 60. So the cos of 30 will be my adjacent, which would equal root 3 over my hypotenuse plus the tan of 60, and the tan of 60 is my opposite over my adjacent, and the opposite here is root 3 over 1. Now that can then become root 3 over 2 plus 2 root 3 over 2. Essentially what I did there was I multiplied this by 2 over 2, so I have an LCD. And then now I'll have my final answer, which will be 3 root 3 over 2. Now, how would they know that you've used the calculator? Go and put into your calculator root cos 30 plus tan 60, and you'll see it'll give you 3 root 3 over 2. So we know that we have done it right. With certain angles, what it will do is it will remove the surd from the denominator, and we're going to do one of these examples soon. Let's go on to the next one. We're now doing number 3, and we have tan 30 over tan 60. Now tan 30 is my adjacent over my opposite, which will be root 3 over, it's my opposite over my adjacent, so that's 1 over root 3. Delete, so that will be 1 over root 3 divided by, I don't like working with the fraction over a fraction, so I like doing this and then applying my reciprocal. The tan of 60 is my opposite over my adjacent, which is root 3 over 1, and that will now equal 1 over root 3 times 1 over root 3, and my final answer will just be 1 over 3. You'll know this from your certs. Okay, we can move on to the next one. We now have tan 60 plus sine 60. So the tan of 60 is my opposite over my adjacent, which is root 3 over 1, which will just be root 3, plus the sine of 60. Now the sine of 60 is my opposite over my hypotenuse. And then what I will do here is my opposite over my hypotenuse. Okay, that's right. The tan is my opposite over my adjacent, my opposite over my hypotenuse. Okay, that's correct. So this is then going to be 2 root 3 over 2 plus root 3 over 2, and that will equal 3 root 3 over 2. The nice thing about this section is you can always check your work on the calculator and see if you get the same answer by just putting in the question. Let's go to the next sum. We now have cos 30 over tan 30. Now, the cos of 30 is my opposite over my hypotenuse, which would be a half, right, divided by tan 30, which is my opposite over my adjacent. And then now I'm going to apply my reciprocal, and I can make this a multiplication. I have root 3 over 1, and then that's just going to give me root 3 over 2. Hope this was helpful. We're going to go to some more advanced examples now. So now we're dealing with multiple terms. So let's look here. We have the sine of 45. So that will be 1 over root 2 times, okay, the cos of 45, which will be my opposite over my hypotenuse, is 1 over root 2, divided by the tan of 60. So the tan of 60 here is going to be my opposite over my hypotenuse, which is root 3 over 2 times my tan of 30, which is opposite over adjacent, 1 over root 3. So let's deal with our first multiplication, and I'll have 1 over 2 here, and I'll have that divided by, if we look here, we can see this root 3 cancels off with this root 3. So I'm going to have a half divided by a half, which is equal to a half times 2, and then my final answer here will be 1. Okay, I hope you guys get an idea of this, and before I do the questions, I hope you're doing the sums. If not, even though we did this together, it is recommended that you come back and do these sums later on. It'll still be beneficial to you. Let's move on to the final question here. Okay, we're now dealing with 4 cos squared 30 plus tan 30 times sine 30. And you have to still be using board maths. So we're going to have 4 into, what is the cos of 30? It's my opposite over my hypotenuse. So I'm going to have a half squared plus my tan of 30, which is my opposite over my adjacent, 1 over root 3 times my sine of 60. And the sine of 60 is my opposite over hypotenuse, which will be root 3 over 2. And then finally here I'm going to have 4 into 1 over 4 plus, here this root 3 cancels off with this root 3, and I'm going to have a half here, and then I'm just going to have 2 plus a half, and that will then equal 2 and a half, or you can have it as 5 over 2. I hope this video was helpful for you guys. If you have any questions, please leave a comment down below, or you could reach out to us through our website. Good luck and all the best.